Earth. I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681, offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Glad you're hanging out with us. Hope your work week is off to a good start. We got the rumor mill in college baseball up and running. Is Jim Schlossnagle going to Texas just after losing a national championship game? I've got a lot of thoughts on the press conference last night and what may happen over the next 24 hours. We'll do that in 15 minutes. Glenn West from Go 24/7 with us at 1:30. I want to talk about the Saints and some of the youth that they've got on this roster, because we talk about how old they are all the time. How about some of the young players that I think really could be pillars in the franchise for years to come? EA Sports is putting out its new college football game. It ranked its best home environments in college football earlier today, and we'll get into a little bit of that. Good summertime segment, and Sharief Ishaq will come on and talk some Saints with us as well. So let's get off and moving here on this Tuesday. Tennessee, the new champions of college baseball. And I've got a lot of things that I want to discuss about last night's game and kind of the state of where college baseball is. It was a great ball game last night. I told you yesterday that I was really excited to sit down and watch it, and I did. I watched every pitch of the game last night, got home from the Myers-Man's Monday swimming lesson just in time to crank up first pitch, and I watched it to its completion. And it was a really good ball game. Yeah, it was 6-1 at one point. You thought that Tennessee had separated and A&M was just out of gas, but the Ags weren't out of gas, and they made it really, really close, and they got the tying run to the plate in the ninth inning. You started things off with a home run to lead off the Tennessee bottom half from Christian Moore, who is just a sensational player and had a phenomenal career at Tennessee. He leaves there as the all-time Tennessee home run king and was really kind of the face of the second half of this Tennessee emergence. And that was some fireworks early in the ballgame. And I thought Xander Sechrist was fantastic early in the game. Just a pitchability lefty with a good breaking ball. He was extending off the plate to his Aggie lefties, and they had a lot of trouble with it. And he was able to get them off to a great start into the sixth inning, only allowing one earned run, only walked one, struck out 7 in the game. I thought the biggest early play, and it wasn't a run-scoring play, certainly Christian Moore's home run, Tennessee adding a little bit, but the biggest moment was in the sixth inning, first and third, 2 outs in a 3-1 game. So it's a 2-run ball game. And Caden Sorrell hits a missile, 109 miles an hour off the bat, right to Blake Burke for the third out. That ball could have sliced into the corner and potentially tied the game right there in the sixth, but turns out that it doesn't end up in anything. Dylan Dreiling homered in all 3 of the finals games and was just a huge piece to the Tennessee offense all year long, and he becomes the most outstanding player. He hits the 2-run homer to right field to make it 5-1. And then really the play that looked really cool at the time but became the difference maker was the Hunter Inslee slide on the Kavaris Tears missile into right center field that missed a home run by 1.5 feet. And Inslee looks like he's out at home. Incredible play by Laviolette in center field to barehand it, throw it in. They hit the relay perfectly, and the catcher makes the catch. And instead of going to the inside to make the tag, he kind of pulls to the outside. I think that's muscle memory for a catcher to instinctively want to tag that way. And Inslee just made an athletic play to get by him, and that stretched it out to 6-1. But look, I'm crediting Tennessee, and I'm about to, and I'll credit A&M here because this is not really about how much I dislike the two programs. It's about a great college baseball team played, a great college baseball game played by 2 great college baseball teams. Down 6-1 in the 8th inning, like, you can fold your tent pretty quick. They got 6 hits in the last 2 innings. 6 hits in the last 2 innings to make that thing respectable. But in the end, Tennessee gets the strikeout to win it. Excellently executed strike 3 there from Aaron Combs, who threw a lot of pitches yesterday, but he came back on adrenaline and gave him 22 more last night, and that was absolutely plenty. Tennessee is, in the definition of the term, a worthy champion. That's the Southeastern Conference champions, the Southeastern Conference tournament champions. They did not lose in their regional. They did not lose. Well, they did lose one in their super. I beg your pardon. Evansville did get them once, and they got through Omaha unscathed into the final and won 2 games with their backs against the wall to become the champions. And it's not just this Tennessee team, which was the best team in college baseball. It's a progression under Tony Vitello. The 2021 team reached a super regional, beat LSU in Knoxville, and got to Omaha. The 2022 team, we all know, was a super team. That team, after it was so good and lost that super regional Notre Dame, lost Jordan Beck and lost Drew Gilbert and lost Trey Lipscomb and lost Luke Lipschitz and lost Blade Tidwell. And they had so many great players on that team that moved on. And then they came back the next year and made it to Omaha. Now, it wasn't a great SEC run for them. Wasn't a great regular season for them, very much like LSU this past season. But they got it together. They went to Clemson and won. They went to Hattiesburg and won, and they got to Omaha. And then that team loses Chase Dolander and loses Chase Burns and loses Maui Ahuna and loses Andrew Lindsley, who became their Friday night starter. Like, that's a lot of turnover. And they put the best team in college baseball out there this year. Like, that's really freaking impressive. You cannot really care about Tennessee because they're over in the East. You can hate them with the fire of 1,000 suns because you don't like their head coach. Either way, you have to respect the run this team has gone on for now 4 seasons under Tony Vitello. And they'll have a lot of turnover. Blake Burke's gone, and Christian Moore's gone. And you've got some of these pitchers that they've leaned on big time, and Aaron Combs, and then Kirby Connell, who are going to move on with no eligibility left. And like, they'll have to restock the shelves again. But this run they've been on, it's very similar in some ways to kind of Skip knocking on the door in the 80s, and then finally breaking through in 91. I don't subscribe to the fact that you have to go to Omaha a couple of times before you win it. None of these LSU players last year had been to Omaha before, and they seemed to do just fine last year. But it helps to have some experience, and they're building that year over year, having guys that have been to Omaha, and now they've got the monkey off their back really for the entire athletic department as far as the men go, having not won a national championship in 25 years. They got that done last night, and they are right now the superior program in college baseball. I would put over the last 4 or 5 years, their program is better than Florida's. It's better than LSU's. It's been better than Oregon State's or Vanderbilt's. It's better than Virginia's. They've been better over the last 4 years than everybody else, and that's a worthy champion in college baseball. You know, for A&M, they will lament this situation very much in the same way that LSU laments the Eric Walker injury, because Braden Montgomery goes down and Shane Sadeo goes down, and yeah, the Montgomery injury absolutely hurts them. There's no question about that. He's going to be a top 8 pick in the draft. And he hit a ton of home runs, and he hit for a really high average, and he was their most consistent offensive presence most of the year, really until they got to Baton Rouge. But Caden Kent stepped up and was great in Omaha. He had a massive grand slam in the Super Regional. Like, I don't know how much more Braden Montgomery could have done in that spot. But you take Shane Sadeo out of that pitching staff, and now that's a guy who could extend. Shane Sadeo is very much capable of going 6 or 7 innings. And he could have done that 2 or 3 times in Omaha and didn't. And so because of that, you've got to keep running Aschenbeck out there. You've got to extend Cortez 99 pitches 2 days ago. And Aschenbeck wasn't as sharp in the game. He goes out there and he gave you 46 pitches, but he gave up 6 hits and 3 runs. Didn't have the strikeout stuff you normally see. And maybe that's because he was used a little bit more than they would have liked. Now, Lampkin stepped up, and he wasn't asked to do that much early in the year. And before the outing last night, he had been unbelievable in Omaha. But you need all the arms you can get in Omaha. And Texas A&M was without one of their biggest. And the thought over there, and we'll get to the Schlossnagle thing in the next segment. I have a lot of thoughts on that. The thought over there in Aggie Land is like, they'll get back and they'll do it. And that sounds good to say. And it's very possible. Tennessee keeps knocking on the door, and Tim Corbin got Vanderbilt up there a bunch, and Kevin O'Sullivan got Vanderbilt up there a bunch, and Skip, we just talked about early in the late 80s, and it got there. And yeah, there are lots of examples. There are also Mike Martins. There are also Dave Van Horns. Like, it is really freaking hard to win this thing. Don't let LSU's 7 out of 8 skew your thinking. We live in Fantasyland here in Baton Rouge. I love Fantasyland. Fantasyland is fun. I hope to keep Fantasyland going my entire life. But winning 7 out of 8 championship appearances is Fantasyland. Ask the folks in Fayetteville and Tallahassee. Ask Jim Schlossnagle. He went with TCU. They were really good. Multiple trips up there. He's gone now twice with A&M with really good teams. He's got no rings to show for it. Ask Dan McDonald at Louisville how that is. They were awesome for like 6 years. They were constantly showing up in Omaha. They got nothing. It's really hard to get back, and for A&M to get that close and not to get it done is going to hurt for a long time there, and it may hurt a lot more in the next 24 hours if things break Austin's way. And the last thing I want to say about this Tennessee team before we kind of move on from the game that it was. Interesting composition of that roster, which I believe to be the best in college baseball. They didn't have an ace. They did not have an ace. They tried A.J. Russell. He had been hurt. They tried A.J. Causey. It didn't really work. They tried Chris Stamos as an opener. Like Xander Sechrist and Drew Beam aren't aces. Drew Beam's a really good pitcher. He's probably going to go in the second round of the draft. But they did it without an ace. And that's not something you see a ton of. But when you can put out a lineup like they did, you can make up for that pretty quick. Blake Burke for the season hit .380 with 20 homers. Christian Moore hit .375 with 34 home runs. Dylan Dreiling, .341, 23 homers. Kavaris Tears, .324, 20 homers. Billy Amick, transfer from Clemson, .306, 23 homers. Hunter Ensley, a tick under 300 at .296. He hit 12 homers. Dean Curley, freshman shortstop, 12 homers, .285. The only guy they put in their lineup day in and day out that wasn't a real serious offensive threat was Cal Stark, their catcher. And Cal Stark hit .212 on the season. But Cal Stark also hit 11 home runs, including a monster home run in the game on Sunday. But they did it with offense and enough arms here and there in the bullpen to mix and match to make it work. There's a lot of different ways to skin this cat and get to Omaha and get it done. And Tennessee showed their way in winning the school's first baseball national championship in its history last night from Omaha, and I enjoyed the heck out of watching the game. I really did enjoy it. I know there are a lot of people, and myself, I mean, look, y'all listened. I don't like either one of those baseball programs. But we got to the end, and I knew that somebody was going to lose and be heartbroken, and I haven't consumed any Tennessee content today, and I've consumed a lot of A&M content over the last 12 hours since this thing went final. But it was a heck of a baseball game. It's a great event, and I tweeted this out, but I thought the essay from Ryan McGee thanking the city of Omaha for creating such an incredible environment and event every single year was just really cool. For someone who has been there a couple times and has seen the way that the city throws itself around that event and what it's become. I saw it at Rosenblatt. I saw it early in TD Ameritrade then. Now I've seen it kind of mature into Charles Schwab and what they've put around it and the evolution of that. It's phenomenal. And I feel like the fan bases of A&M and Tennessee created a great environment. The town puts on a great event, and it was a heck of a College World Series. I wouldn't have picked Tennessee to win it, preferably at the beginning, but here we are, and they certainly earned it. So that's my thoughts on the College World Series final. Take yours in the Bayou Ford chat or over on Twitter. When we come back, the Jim Schlossnagle to Texas rumors are rampant. There was a question asked in the press conference last night. Some people thought it was appropriate. Some people thought it was not. Jim Schlossnagle is one of those. I'll kind of give my as unbiased as I can be and emotion removed from it, kind of what I thought of that entire interaction and what I think the result of all this is going to be. That's coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. Mitchell Fisher and his team, fantastic on the audio front with your home audio systems, with your video, your television, home entertainment systems, as well as your security. But I'll tell you another thing that they can do. It's really hot out there if you haven't noticed. And a lot of us love to play some golf, want to go hit some balls, and you just get drenched out there trying to hit balls on the driving range or trying to go play golf. What about an indoor golf simulator? If you've got room for that in your home but have no idea where to start that process, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you install your golf simulator at your home, maybe at the office. Trying to get something done, but at home as well. Mitchell Fisher and his team have done it, and they're happy to help you with it. Give them a call, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. Look, if you've never thought about putting a golf simulator or anything, that's an interesting idea. Mitchell Fisher and his team have done this in the past. They are happy to help you with all of that. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR, or check them out online. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee Drive. We're talking NBA draft with the Bird Rights, Ali Cosell. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate joins us, and Wes Reynolds from VEASAN. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
So the baseball game last night was very entertaining. We got in my opinion, the two best teams in college baseball. I think you got the three teams standing at the end of the 2023 season, LSU, Wake Forest, and Florida, I thought were the best three teams in the country last year. And I thought the Texas A&M and Tennessee were the best two teams in the country this year. And I think that's really good for college baseball to get the best teams in the country right there at the end, and you got a great ball game last night. And then you got the reaction afterward. And I will tell you, y'all know this, I monitor a lot of beat writers and communities around the SEC. I feel like it helps me to frame opinions. I think it helps me to stay informed, to keep you informed, maybe to bring some stories to you that may not be front of mind for you, the LSU fan, as you're kind of sitting there with your purple and gold tunnel vision on. I enjoy keeping up with the rest of the league. I know that Matt does around the SEC to kind of do the same thing every single day. It's just kind of part of my daily routine. And one of the communities that I monitor really closely is Texas A&M, and specifically Texags. And when David Pierce was let go, it surprised absolutely no one. Everyone knew that David Pierce was eventually going to be fired. Kendall Rogers came on these airwaves 2 weeks ago on Matt Moscona's show and said, I think he'll be fired. I mean, and it just took them a long time to make that decision, to make that official for whatever reason the case may be. And when that happened, a lot of people speculated that Tony Vitello and Jim Schlossnagle were very much in the mix here. And I can tell you that the folks over on Texags in the A&M community was a little bit on edge about that, and a lot of stuff was bubbling up over there. Billy Lucci went on Texags Radio this morning and said, like, every single person I saw yesterday, the whole way before the game, was asking if Schlossnagle was going to take the Texas job. Like, they are very concerned about this. And so last night, after the game was over, Richard Zane from Texags.com, which, keep in mind, is not the Houston Chronicle, is not the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, he's not from ESPN. This is a fan site run by fans for fans. And Richard Zane is an A&M alum, just like Billy Lucci is, and he chose to ask Jim Schlossnagle a question. And we're going to play the question audio first before we get into Schlossnagle's answer. But, Beck, I'm going to ask for your thoughts on the question and how it was phrased and whether or not it's a good time to ask that question, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Here is Richard Zane from Texags after the game asking Jim Schlossnagle a question.
With the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
All right. It's after the game. They've just lost the national championship, worst loss of his career. And Richard Zane says, with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland? Fair or foul, Beck?
I think it's a fair question. I think and to me, it's like people are talking about, you have to make sure you word these questions properly, which I agree with in a sense. But at the end of the day, the question is the question. He's asking him if he's considering the Texas job. I mean, he words it in a way to where it doesn't sound as, straightforward of him just saying like, hey, are you going to take the Texas job? I think he words it in a way to where Jim has to answer it candidly, and he can't just say, I don't know what you're talking about, like anything like that. You just ask him, about his future in Aggieland. I mean, he could answer that any way he wants.
Correct. I thought, and Richard Zane's gotten a lot of heat from the A&M side of this, a lot of A&M fans about this, and I think he worded this beautifully. I think it was perfectly appropriate to ask, and I think it was worded perfectly. He said, with respect to a specific job opening, he didn't say Texas. He didn't say, are you going to Texas? He said, there's been a job opening. What do you have to say about your future in Aggieland? That is as benign as you could possibly be in asking this question. And here is what Jim Schlossnagle had to say after the toughest loss of his career and this question being posed to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
He didn't like the question. He felt insulted by the question. He was coming up again for the third time. I've said this, the toughest loss of his career. And he got short at the end of that with Richard Zane and called it a selfish question to ask. He tried to tamp things down as best he could. And he said that he took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. Not to say it can't change. It hasn't changed. And then he said, I gave up a big part of my life to come and take this job. I've poured every ounce of my soul into this job. I've given this job every ounce I could possibly give it. Write that. And I understand that Jim Schlossnagle was irritated by the question. I get that. Cam Smith at the British Open 2 years ago at St. Andrews was irritated that he got a question about going to the Live Golf League after winning the British Open because he didn't want to talk about that and create a quote and a soundbite around that when it should have been about something else. And Jim Schlossnagle wanted to talk about these guys and this team. But I thought the answer was very telling to me because he got upset about it when there's really nothing to be super upset about, and then did not slam the door and say, I will be at Texas A&M. Now, Beck, I'm going to get you to play the audio, the question again, and I'm going to give what I believe would be a far better answer if Jim Schlossnagle was staying at Texas A&M forever. This would be what I would do in terms of getting this question, which we'll play the question audio. I think this is pretty simple.
With the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
I'm so excited about the future in Aggieland. Future in Aggieland is incredibly bright. We've got a new facilities project that we've gotten a green light on. We've got an unbelievable foundation, a bunch of kids who have proven you can get to the pinnacle of the sport right here. It's an unbelievable place to go to work. It's an unbelievable university, a great place to get an education, a great place to play baseball. I'm so excited to be here for the future, and I'm looking forward to get starting on next year with an understanding that these guys have laid an incredible foundation for Texas A&M baseball. Like, that's an easy the question was phrased, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland? That's a very easy question to answer if you know what your future is in Aggieland. But if you know that your buddy Chris Del Conte is right down the road and he's got a fat contract for you, and you're actually going to leave for Texas because you really like Chris Del Conte and you don't know Trev Alberts very well, who's just your new AD, and you don't really like working for him, and you know what? We're going to try to push for a national championship at the University of Texas, but you don't want to talk about that while you're wearing maroon and white in Omaha after the toughest loss of your league. You get ticked. And A&M has done nothing to come out and tamp this down. Jim Schlossnagle is saying nothing to come out and tamp this down. A&M insiders are saying nothing to tamp this down. Basically, everybody over there is in the dark. Billy Lucci went as far on Texags Radio this morning to say that Jim Schlossnagle is a friend of his, and he doesn't know. Now, I'm not exactly just perfectly sourced within the college baseball. I'm not Kendall Rogers. I sit here on Government Street in Baton Rouge, and I'm pretty limited into the phone calls that I can make and the contacts that I have. I don't have a lot. But the grapevine started rustling yesterday, and you can connect dots pretty quickly if you give it any thought whatsoever. This is not a made-up story by Texas. Jim Schlossnagle, in my opinion, is very, very, very heavily weighing this. And I think there's a better chance than not he is going to take the Texas job. Now, I believe that this entire situation was cultivated 3 or 4 weeks ago. Chris Del Conte knew they were going to move on from David Pierce. He knew that Jim Schlossnagle was the guy he wanted, and guess what? If Texas A&M had gotten upset in their regional 3 weeks ago, he'd already be in College Station. I mean, he'd already be in Austin. But it's one of those deals where circumstances happen, and A&M did win their regional, and they did win their super regional, and they did win their College World Series bracket, and time just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And now all of a sudden, it would make sense to me if Jim Schlossnagle said, you know what? I wanted to take that Texas job a month ago. I wanted to work for Chris Del Conte. I like it at A&M. I'll like it at Texas. I think it's probably a little bit easier to win a College World Series at Texas. And I want to take that job. It's just I can't do that now. We've gotten all the way to the top of the mountain here. I've got a really good team coming back with Laviolette coming back and Grahovic coming back, and I want to take that job, but I just can't do it now. I can't go to Omaha, talk how great the 12th man is, then fly back after losing the toughest game of my career, and 24 hours later get in a black courtesy car and drive the 2.5 hours to Austin or whatever it is and be their head coach. I just morally I can't. It's not like I'm leaving Rice for Texas. I'm not leaving UL Lafayette for LSU. A&M is plenty good enough. That's the one thing that could stop this, in my opinion.
Matt talked about it yesterday, and T-Bob talked about it this morning. Les Miles in Michigan.
Yep. It's the same type deal where Les wants to be the Michigan coach, but he'd have to leave a national championship game on the doorstep to go do it, and you're just not willing. Timing doesn't work. To put a bow on this entire synopsis, like Richard Zane is perfectly within his rights, and it's not disrespectful for a media member to ask a question in a press conference. I thought the question was very, very shrewdly worded. I thought it was an easy out for Schlossnagle, and in my opinion, Schlossnagle knew he was taking the Texas job, didn't want to talk about it. The question came up, he got mad about it and overreacted to the situation. But it would not shock me if he sleeps on it, which he's already done. He's now back at Bluebell Park. I've seen the video they've landed, and he looked at his office and went, I can't leave right now to go to Austin. And you have to leave right now. The transfer portal is freaking open for another week and a half. Like, there will be another transfer portal that's coming, but like, you're behind the 8 ball already with a roster that's not good enough. You got to go. And if it doesn't happen in the next 24 hours, then I don't think it's going to happen. But I think it will happen in the next 24 hours. And it's fascinating stuff. That will be the most interesting coaching switch that I've ever seen in collegiate athletics personally. You could probably come up with one, but a guy that just played for a national championship, leaving for the most hated rival right down the road, right after the game, that is wild to me. And if that happens, I will be endlessly fascinated. And we'll talk about it. Glenn West coming up next, talking some Tigers. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. We got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Penn Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Penn Cash every single week. Visit PennPlaySports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. Not a member? Get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino, your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Jay Dixon joins us after a busy recruiting weekend, and we'll recap in the College World Series with Ronnie Rance. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Shout out to Pluckers. I'll be out there for sports trivia tonight, 8:30, Nicholson location. Grab a team, coming out and win some gift cards, drink some cold beers, and eat some awesome wings. We always have a good time on Tuesdays. Appreciate the folks over at Pluckers for bringing you our Tuesday shows. Glenn West with us every single Tuesday. Senior writer over at Go 24/7 joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing all right, son. How about yourself?
I'm doing quite well. What'd you make of the College World Series?
Yeah, look, I think it was, for me, I've said this now for a couple of weeks, just felt like Tennessee was maybe a team of destiny, just very much kind of like LSU last year. I mean, they were a team that, came in as one of the hyped up favorites to win it all. You don't usually, it's been 25 years since the #1 overall seed has won a College World Series, and I think Tennessee was obviously very deserving. I thought what I kind of also go back to what Jay Johnson said in the past. You need future big leaguers on your roster. You need veteran players that have been on your roster in order to pull something like this off. And look, Tennessee has that. I mean, you look at Burke and certainly Christian Moore and Dreiling and Amick. I mean, all these guys are going to be future draft picks and guys that, are going to go down as, some of their program's best players, much like LSU had last year. So, very deserving champions. Obviously the stigma around here is you don't really like to root for fellow SEC opponents, but, the SEC, once again, having two teams in that World Series final there, shows you just how much the competition is skewed towards this conference and how difficult it is to win in this conference.
Look, you want to have great players and draftable players everywhere, but if I just kind of paint with a broad brush here, like LSU's team last year, the biggest talent in the championship series, because Skeens didn't pitch, is the offensive guys that they put out there. Now, Floyd was great and got picked in the first round, and Hurd's going to be a nice draftable, but like the lineup was the beast of the talent on the team after Skeens. And the same thing can be said for this Tennessee team. You got your Riley Coopers of the world and your Nate Ackenhausens of the world that can get some outs, and Kirby Connell, and I think some of those Tennessee bullpen guys are good college pitchers, Aaron Combs as well, but not necessarily guys that are going to go in the first 50 picks. Do you think that's kind of the template for the powerhouse of college baseball to create an all-world lineup and supplement it with some veteran guys that can miss some bats?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have offense, right? I mean, I think the last couple of years have showed us that, and look, I think the game is revolving more towards an offensive-oriented game again, which is fun, I think, for a lot of reasons. But yeah, look, I think you have to have those power bats, those contact bats, those offenses that can help drive in runs and move move your team forward. I think that's a huge part of this. And yeah, I mean, look, if you don't have a Paul Skeens where you know you're going to go in with probably a win every single weekend, the best way to supplement that is by having a very, very strong offense. And Tennessee had a very strong offense this past year. LSU had it, in 2023. Ole Miss got red hot there towards the end of their season a couple of years ago to really drive home that championship. So, I think this is becoming more of an offensive league again, and it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how LSU kind of responds to that this year with all the the turnover they've had with their roster.
Let's talk a little football, Glenn. I know you were out at Friday Night Lights, LSU's camp last week. You got a chance to look at a little bit of Bryce Underwood, and what was your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's the real deal. I know there's no pads, and it's very those kind of tournaments and things are very skewed to offensive players. But man, he looked the part. I mean, he was dropping in some really beautiful passes throughout the entire afternoon. He was accurate. He threw some deep balls. I mean, there was one pass that he connected with Harlan Berry on, the 5-star running back commit, where Berry was did a nice job of getting some distance from his defensive back, but I mean the ball would have been placed just absolute in the perfect spot, even if Berry was covered by a defensive back over the top. I mean, it was just a beautifully perfected pass. And Harlan Berry had some really strong moments in this camp as well. JT Lindsey, John David LaFleur was out there, Teron Francis. They had pretty much all of their offensive skill position players that are committed out there, catching balls from Underwood with, Joe Sloan looking on the entire way. So it was a really productive afternoon, really interesting, kind of ordeal there to be able to get guys that are already committed to be able to perform in a camp like that. I think it's really good for the staff to see those guys, start to get some early connections built in that way. So, yeah, very beneficial to just get Underwood down here, and we'll see if it has any trickle-down effect on some future recruits here.
What makes Harlan Berry special?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've you see the tape, you see him perform live in games, and the speed is one thing, but I've just really been enamored by his catching ability. I mean, we saw it, a little bit back with the team flow when they went out to Orlando to compete in the 7-on-7 tournament earlier this offseason. And he comes back with this camp this past weekend, and you could probably line him up in the slot and you wouldn't even know he was a running back. I mean, he's that good of a catcher, and I think he's only going to get better from here in terms of his pass catching ability. So very multi-dimensional player. Somebody that I think LSU is going to be able to put on the field early in his career, and he'll be able to, make some things happen for him. So very impressed with Harlan Berry, and obviously he's got to get through this senior season here, but really like, the talent that they're bringing in there at that running back position. They really help complement what they already have in some young guys like Caden Durham, Caleb Jackson, and certainly with what they got with JT Lindsey as well.
Big weekend on the recruiting trail, and got some commitments and had one defection that we talked with Sonny yesterday, and he said that he actually thinks that Jabari Antoine will probably wind up back in the class. But what's your biggest takeaway from the weekend in recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the two pickups they got in the trenches with, Kern and LeJesse Harold too. I mean, those are two guys that are going to be, anchors on the opposite side of the ball for LSU. I mean, I think Kern is a guy that can slide in as a future tackle. Has some versatility to play inside if he wants. But then also you've got, the edge rusher in LeJesse Harold, who we have as a top 10 edge guy for this upcoming class. They're very much in the mix for Damian Shanklin as well, who's another edge. So if you get those two, those are two top 10 edge rushers that you could be welcoming into your class here for 2025, which is a really great start for Kevin Peoples. They're still obviously working on some interior defensive linemen. I think a couple of those decisions are coming here very soon. One guy to keep an eye out for is Zion Williams, not Williamson, Zion
right.
Williams. So he's going to be a defensive tackle. He's supposed to commit here on July the 4th. So could be some more fireworks for LSU's class popping off here before the summer ends.
What's coming up on Go 24/7? I know it's a slow-ish time of year until we get to media days, but what's you got working the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, certainly we'll continue following the baseball off season. Having some analysis pieces on guys that are already committed to part of that class or part of this upcoming roster. We'll continue to hit the recruiting trail hard, just because it's a dead period coming up in recruiting. That doesn't mean we can't reach out to recruits and get kind of their thoughts as they kind of wind down on their decisions. So we'll have plenty of coverage on recruiting, some baseball off season stuff, and looking ahead here to the 2024 season. We'll actually get a chance to talk with Garrett Nussmeier later this week at the Manning Passing Academy, so that'll be fun. Kind of getting his thoughts in the off season and what LSU's been up to this summer.
We appreciate some time, man. Thanks, Glenn.
All right, thanks, Hunt.
He's Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. All your team coverage, all your recruiting coverage. He's got you covered. He's always with us here on Tuesdays on the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Sometimes you don't know what you're missing until you lose it. Sometimes you don't know what you have or what you need until you get it. And for us, that was, I think, our situation with our closets in our first home. I didn't seem to care that much about it, but my wife's like, this is not tenable. We've got to find a home that's got a little better closet situation. We moved, we prioritized that, and now we have a much better closet situation, and my wife is thrilled about it. If you don't want to move, but you want a better closet situation, you can do it with One Bath and Closet. David Duvall and his team are a licensed contractor. They can do a full-scale closet redesign, remodel, or maybe they can just help you use your space a little bit more efficiently with a nook or cranny here, there, drawers, mirrors, cubbies, that kind of thing. They can handle all of it at One Bath and Closets. And if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to One Bath and Closets, $1,000 off of your job. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can get the free consultation. That's where it all starts with David Duvall and his team. You can check out pictures of their great work, read testimonials, and get that free consultation, as I told you, at onebathandclosets.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee Drive. We're talking NBA draft with the Bird Rights, Ali Cosell. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate joins us, and Wes Reynolds from VEASAN. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Still a lot of conversation in the Bayou Ford chat about Jim Schlossnagle and the decision that he's got, and a lot of Tony Vitello talk as well as regards to Texas's job. I think that Chris Del Conte at Texas has contacted Jay Johnson. I think he's contacted Tony Vitello. I think he may have picked up the phone and called Kevin O'Sullivan. And I don't know any of this stuff, but it's just very common sense stuff. I think Jim Schlossnagle has been his target initially because they work together and they have a great relationship. And Schlossnagle's proven himself to be a great coach. He went to TCU and created a monster there. It didn't necessarily pan out in Omaha, but they were a consistent presence in regionals, regional hosts, top 8 seeds. Omaha, he had a great program there, and he spent 17 years there. And he went to Texas A&M, and he's been there for 3 years, and they've been to Omaha twice. So that's a great guy to tab to lead your program. But a lot of the talk has been about money. And look, any way you slice it, Schlossnagle and Vitello will be getting raises because of this. Whether that raise is at Texas or at their current employer remains to be seen. I think Tony Vitello probably looked at the Texas job and said, you know what? I could go there. They'd probably pay me a few more dollars. I'd have more in-state players to choose from. But is it really a better job? Tennessee is just committed to a massive stadium rebuild. This program has never been worth a flip, ever. And I'm the trailblazer who's creating it. The alumni base is 100% behind him. The administration's 100% behind him. And he's proven I can do just about whatever I want at Tennessee. He's been to Omaha 3 times. He's created the best college baseball team I've ever watched. They're pumping guys into the league. He's recruiting at a high level. The transfer portal's been good to him. Like, what do I need to leave for? And you could say the same thing about Jim Schlossnagle, but I would suggest, like, Trev Alberts is a different dude than Ross Bjork, who hired him, and Woody, who's there before. And you look at Chris Del Conte, who would be his boss across town in Austin, like, that's a guy he's got a great relationship with. A lot of us care about who our boss is. And I don't think this is going to come down to Texas saying, we'll pay you 2.4 and A&M going, yeah, well, we got to stay at 1.6. Like, and it's not going to be a deal where somebody comes up and says, well, we'll pay you 5. Like, it's not going to be some massive financial offer. It's going to be a comfort level thing. I checked with somebody who knows Jim Schlossnagle. I don't do this very often, but I do know someone who knows Jim Schlossnagle. And I didn't ask for specific. The read I got was the guy wants to win a College World Series so badly. And the question is, where's the easier path, College Station or Austin? And I don't think there's a massive difference. I think that Texas has got 6 of them in their back pocket, and A&M's got none, so you could point to that, but is going to go in the next 3 days. Just a matter of, is it from College Station, which is just out of control, or is it from somewhere else? I don't know, but it's fascinating stuff. Appreciate y'all's input there in the Bayou Ford chat, and those of you that are chiming in on Twitter as well. If you missed any of the first hour, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can find us. You can also find us on YouTube as well. My reaction to the game last night at the top of the show, and then the Schlossnagle press conference that followed was at 1:15. Glenn West with us talking LSU football, talking LSU baseball. If you're looking for the football portion of that, you can generally find it at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. Get all of our LSU football content all year round. We got a lot to get to in hour number 2. We're going to shift away from baseball a little bit in hour number 2. Want to talk some Saints youth, some of the guys they need to really step up that are on the cheap at this point in their career, and who could be a part of and a pillar to the next really good Saints team. EA Sports came out with their top home field environments in college football. Got some thoughts on that. I've been to quite a few in the Southeastern Conference, and Sharief Ishaq's going to join us at the bottom of hour number 2, talk a little Saints and Pels as well. So we're fired up to be here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus and Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We'll pause for Sports Center and come back more on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Value Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis will have surgery in the coming days on a rare left leg injury sustained in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. He will not play for the Latvia national team at next month's Olympics. A timeline for his return yet to be determined. Knicks guard OG Anunoby opted out of his contract and into free agency. Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy continues to maintain the team wants Klay Thompson back and hopes the veteran guard will be. Contract talks, though, still at a standstill. Not much communication between the sides. Golden State's facing a dilemma when it comes to one of the pillars of its dynasty, points out ESPN NBA writer Zach Lowe.
And here's the reality for the Warriors. As long as Curry is there, they have an obligation to try to win, to try to contend. The question is, does Klay help that goal enough to hold back a little bit Moses Moody and Kuminga and Podziemski and all the players they need to start playing more to transition to the next era?
Thompson reportedly plans to test free agency before a final decision's made, reports ESPN's Kendra Andrews.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, the NBA draft is here, and I'll tell you what draft day trades I want to see happen. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you today by Pluckers. Sharief, Ishaq talking Saints. 30 minutes from right now. EA Sports gave you the top 25 college football home environments. Where does LSU rank? I'll let you know, and then you can probably throw a fit depending on where you think it should rank. I do have to start the hour with a bit of a something that made me laugh in the break. I got asked by someone in the Bayou Ford chat where my chat picture was from. It's right there on there. And I'm looking, I've never given any thought, and I kind of looked at it, and it's really small on the screen. I think it's my Google, and I think it's from when I created my Gmail account. I believe that picture is from 2010.
Looks a little sunburnt, maybe.
Yeah, I was in college, and I spent a little more time at the pool than the classroom. And I think that was at my buddy's graduation dinner, which was at Jubin's. Like 15 of us went, and we enjoyed his celebration. I still had a year left to go because, well, I took 5 and he got out in 4. But I think that was from Jubin's after my buddy graduated from college, and it was 14 years ago. Should I update that picture? I look a lot better 14 years ago after spending a lot of time at the pool than I do today.
I mean, all I'll say is you don't look that much different in that picture than you do today, besides the fact you're not sunburnt.
Well, I'm sunburned right now, and I'm sunburned in that picture.
But you're not nearly as sunburned as you are in that picture. I think
that's like spring break into pool season. Yeah. It's like maybe go show up for a couple of finals, but really was at the pool most of the time.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll leave it as it is. Well, I think what's the statute of limitations on your picture for your Gmail? We're at 14 years. I mean, at 20, do I have to change it?
Well, I think it depends on when, like, what age you were, and then so if your profile picture was from when you were 18, then I would say when
I was 22 in that picture.
So I think you gotta probably get to like 40 before you gotta change it.
So I got 4 years left before I've got to make the change.
Yeah.
All right, duly noted. We'll go ahead and take care of that when the time comes. 4 years from right now. All right, let's talk some Saints here as we kick off hour number 2. Most of the time when I'm talking about the Saints, I'm telling you how expensive their roster is and how old they are and how I don't think they're going to be very good this year, and I don't trust Dennis Allen, and I don't think Derek Carr is awesome, and they got to change the way they do things. And all of that is tedious and annoying and depressing, and we'll probably do a lot more of it in August, quite frankly, but we're not going to do it today. What I'd like to do today is maybe talk about some of the guys on this roster who are a little bit younger and could be big factors on the next Saints great team. This was inspired by a CBS Sports article that has the top 25 NFL players under 25, and I was relieved to find that the Saints do have a member of the top 25 players under 25 on this list. It's not necessarily right towards the top. However, Chris Olave does make the list of the top 25 under 25. He comes in at number 17. Chris is 24 years old. Having a really, really good player under 25, it takes a really, really good rookie sophomore type season. Like, you're coming into the league at 21, 22 years old. You could easily be in your third year and be 25 years old. And I don't expect everybody that you draft and sign as an undrafted free agent to be an awesome player. But Chris Olave did come in as a first-round pick and was excellent. He's had 2 1,000-yard seasons and hasn't maybe scored as many touchdowns as we would like, but he's been very productive, and that's kind of a chance stat anyway, touchdowns. I realize it's what you're trying to do, but I'd rather an uber-productive guy than a guy who just happened to go for 400 yards and 13 touchdowns last year. That seems a little bit more flukish. I'll take the 1,000-yard guy who only had 4 touchdowns and assume that he'll churn up a few more yards, be more productive. That's more replicable, and I think Chris Olave is going to be great. And I don't think anybody who follows the Saints doesn't think that Chris Olave is going to be great. But I want to talk about some other guys who are very, very young, who are fairly cheap at this point, and I think could be pillars of the next great Saints team. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, who's your number 2 receiver, is 25 years old. I'm not going to suggest he should be on the top 25 players in the NFL at 25 years old, but he's a young guy, and you need him with his youth because he's a guy who needs his speed to be effective, and he's going to have that speed for a good while longer. You've got a lot of years of prime football ahead of Rashid Shaheed. That's one of these great Saints diamonds in the rough that they've found, and I think he could be really, really good. As far as the offensive line goes, you do have some youth on that unit that's already proven itself to be functional. I think Eric McCoy is a fine player. Cesar Ruiz is up and down. I think Eric McCoy is a good player. And he's not an old player. He's 26 years old. I use my cutoff here at 27. Guys under 27 that I'm looking at. Eric McCoy is 26 years old. He's got some real good football left in him. I realize Trevor Penning's young. I'm not putting him on this list. Sure, we all are aware of his situation. He's not on this list for me. Taliese Fuanga is on this list. He's 22. This needs to be a hit. We already know this. I don't even have to go ahead and expound on that. But that's another young player. So you look at your top 2 receivers who are young. You look at a young center in the middle of your offensive line and a young guy that you assume is going to be one of your tackles. That's really, really good. And while we know Trevor Penning's situation, I'll also toss Nick Saldiveri in there. He's only 23. If you can find something in him this year, which I think he's going to be given an opportunity, that's another young piece to this puzzle that I could potentially feel okay about. I'm not going to go ahead and sing Nick Saldiveri's praises right here today, but he is a young player under control that you're going to give a longer look this year, and hopefully that hits. Now let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Brian Brzee, we know, is 22 years old, and I really like where things are headed with him. I think he could be a really, really good player. The flash was there as a rookie. But there are a couple of signings at LSU that the Saints made this year that are really young. Now, they're only under control for 1 year, but potentially, if things work out this year, you could sign to contracts that move forward. And that's Chase Young and Willie Gay. Chase Young's 25, y'all. He's 25 years old. Willie Gay is 26 years old. Chase Young and Willie Gay theoretically have 5 or 6 years of good football left in them. Now, Young has dealt with serious injury problems in serious places on the body, and Gay was found to be expendable by the team that brought him in. So it's not a slam dunk, but it's a no-risk signing that you made. You hope there's upside there. You hope that they enjoy the organization, that they're put to good use, that they're productive, and that they would explore extending the contract and being members of the next great Saints team. Paulson Adebo is only 24. If he becomes a Pro Bowl type player this year, maybe Marshawn Lattimore, who's aging out of this situation, becomes maybe expendable and you can get some assets for him because you feel like Adebo can be your number one guy. Like that's a young player at 24. And then you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, who brought in the second round here. And that's a guy who's obviously very young. So I just rattled off 11 guys. Some of them you already know are NFL starters with upside that could be really good. You already know that about Olave. You already know that about Shaheed. You know that about McCoy. You know that about Willie Gay. You know that about Paulson Adebo. You know that about Pete Werner. Like, those guys are quality players with Pro Bowl upside. And you hope Brian Brzee, Taliese Fuanga, Nick Saldiveri, Kool-Aid McKinstry become those guys. Again, you need more than this, and none of these guys that I've listed off are perennial Pro Bowlers. I guess Olave could be on his way there. So you need more. It's not everything you need to win the South and be a Super Bowl threat, but there's something there as a base. The Saints are too old. They're too expensive. But the only way to beat that is to get young and cheap, and they've got to start there. Quarterback's important. Got to get that done. Head coach is important. I don't know about it. But it's not like everybody on the roster is 32. They're not all DeMario Davis. They're not all Ryan Ramczyk. They're not all Tyrann Mathieu. They're not all Alvin Kamara. You've got some guys who are young. Carl Granderson's just above this threshold, but I think still has reasonably some really good football left in him. And maybe DeMario Davis plays till he's 45. I don't know. But there's a base there of 11 guys that give you some hope that things can turn around and get a little bit better. And hopefully some of these guys take the next step in training camp and into the season and make you feel even better about them then than you do today. If you're looking for Saints content, you can always find ours on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Hunt on Saints is a channel. Subscribe up to it. Get our Saints content each and every day. We'll talk more about this, as well as some Taysom Hill talk with Sharief Ishaq coming up at the bottom of the hour. But where do you think Tiger Stadium ranks in the pantheon of college football environments? EA Sports has their thoughts. I'll give you theirs and mine coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
All those Saints I just rattled off are young, but they got some old guys. And generally speaking, old guys need some help physically. Evolve Physical Therapy is where you need to go, whether you're young or old, if you need some help physically. Robbie Golton, been a physical therapist for nearly 20 years. He's worked with a lot of folks you've heard of. Kevin Gausman, Austin Nola. These guys made millions of dollars because their bodies feel good and they're able to perform. They trusted Robbie Bolton to help them. Whether you're 60-something and want to get back on the golf course, back on the pickleball court, or just want to feel normal, you can go to Robbie Bolton. Maybe you got a 12-year-old youth athlete at home who's dealing with an injury from youth sports. Robbie Bolton can help them as well. It's going to be very, very much hands-on. It's going to be very, very much strategic, and he'll get you to feeling your best so you can be back to being the active person that you know that you are. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. They're online at evolvept.com, evolvept.com. You can also find them at Starring near Highland Road. It's Robbie Bolton and the crew at Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shay Dixon joins us after a busy recruiting weekend, and we're recapping the College World Series with Ronnie Rance. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Parrish Construction and Roofing brings you live coverage of the 2024 SEC Football Media Days, Monday, July 15th through Thursday, July 18th. Find highlights from the week on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Our coverage is also brought to you locally by Rev Business and Relief Windows.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. I'll be out at Plucker's tonight for sports trivia at 8:30. Would love to see you. Come on out and play some sports trivia at 8:30 tonight. We always have a great time. You need some awesome food, get some apps, get some awesome wings. Tots are personally my preference. I understand if you want the waffle fries. Mac and cheese, also a big hit over there.
Gotta get them tossed in a sauce too, the tots or the fries.
You can certainly do that. It's fantastic stuff. And you can get cold beer and play some, win some gift cards. Come on out. If you've never been, highly recommend you come on out tonight at 8:30 at the Nicholson location. It only takes like 85 minutes for us to get through trivia and get you on your way. So I'm looking forward to it. You can watch me agonize over the atrocious Cubs, who ruined my morning again. I was not going to stay up for the whole game last night, but they had a lead. I went to bed. I woke up. I saw that they lost by 1 run, and then I clicked on the box score and saw they gave up 3 runs in the 9th inning to lose the game. They are so bad.
I texted you this guy on Twitter. He posted a chart. It's a graph, and it says the y-axis is probability of doing something stupid, and then the x-axis is innings. And there's a line that just goes straight, and then it goes straight up towards the latter innings of the game, and that's what the Cubs are.
Yeah, they do a lot of stupid stuff in the 9th inning, like bring in terrible pitchers because that's all they got.
Yep.
And they end up losing. So that was good. Let's talk some football. I'll tell you this. The folks over at EA Sports, they know their marketing. They are doing a masterful job with the rollout of this college football video game. They are building until the release. And they're releasing different aspects of the game week over week. And today, they released the top 20 environments in college football. And I realize that there's a majority of you that listen to the show that don't give a rip about video games. Like, that is the majority of the listenership. However, this is a little bit of a talking point with college football. I don't care about how to play the game, but it's just the respect that different stadiums get around the country. And I think it's an interesting summer talking point. I probably wouldn't do this on the Thursday before LSU played USC in the season opener, but here in the middle of June, I feel like it's reasonable to dive into this. LSU, I won't bury the lead. LSU is number 3 on this list in terms of most intimidating venues in college football. Now, there have been a lot of people, unbiased or not fans of LSU, who have jumped in and said LSU should be number 1. But LSU's number 3 here. The 2 in front are Bryant-Denny Stadium, University of Alabama. They're number 2. And Kyle Field at Texas A&M, number 1 most intimidating environment in college football. Now, I think all of you are pretty aware of my feelings about LSU. I think you're pretty aware of my feelings about Alabama. I think you're pretty aware of my feelings on Texas A&M. So we'll get into it and kind of talk about what I think. A lot of people find that Bryant-Denny Stadium is not a super intimidating environment to play in. It's a little bit of wine and cheese. They're a little bit entitled. I have seen Bryant-Denny Stadium at its absolute best. I was there in 2011. I was on the field pregame. I was on the field for overtime. That was an amazing environment to be in. It was 100% full an hour before kickoff, and it was at full throat all night. It was unbelievable. And I'd never been there for an Alabama-Mississippi State game at 11 in the morning. I'd never been there for Alabama-Kent State in September. I've been there for Alabama-LSU, and it's damn good. Like, I think it's really good. That's my thought on Alabama. Beck, do you have thoughts on Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Yeah, I was able to go to the LSU-Alabama game in 19.
I was there. I was not there for that, no.
Albeit I was in the press box for a good bit of it. I did get to go down to the field in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, and it was pretty awesome. I will say that I think if I remember correctly, LSU was up a few scores. Alabama
was up 2 scores late.
And so there were probably some fans that had started to file out, which was a little disappointing. But the whole game,
not to me.
Yeah, of course not. But the game overall, I think it was a really good environment. I wouldn't say that it was as good or better than LSU Alabama game in Tiger Stadium, but I would say that it was pretty close to it.
I think it's really good. Now, people are going to go nuts about Kyle Field here at number 1. I've only been to Kyle Field for one football game. It was 2012, and Johnny Manziel was not Johnny Manziel yet, but they were excited to be in the SEC. It was their first year, and it was a morning game. It was 11 o'clock. And it was full, and they did that Aggie yell, the Aggie war hymn, and there's a sign in the press box that says, "Caution, during the war hymn, the press box will shake." And I didn't really pay it any mind, and they got into that war hymn and started swaying and locking arms. It shook. The whole joint shook, and it was, like, jarring. They have since done renovations, but I'm told it still does shake. I don't like Texas A&M. I don't particularly think the Yell leaders are all that cool. I think the Yell practice is real goofy and should have never gotten to the internet. I'm not going to quibble with their home environment in football. It is awesome. They are incredibly passionate. They are incredibly together. They're really loud. It's a huge stadium. Like, I am not going to quibble with Kyle Field being the number 1 environment in college football for 1 second. Their football program has not been that. Not even close. But I do believe this, and I don't mean to be offensive because, I despise A&M and I love LSU dearly. That's a hungrier fan base than the one here in Baton Rouge, I can promise you that.
Yep.
That is a hungrier fan base than the one in Baton Rouge. And that doesn't go away. And the hungry dog runs faster, they say. I'm not trading for it. I got 3 national championships. I've been at all 3 of them. I got 7 baseball titles. I was in Omaha last year. We won. I flew home happy. They're flying home crying. I'm not trading places. They care, There's a lot of them, and it's real good college football environment. You want to tell me that LSU's better? I wouldn't disagree with that for 1 second. You want someone to tell me that A&M's is better? I'm not going to disagree with that either. I have seen LSU play Kent State in September. I have seen LSU against Mississippi State at 6 o'clock in a October when there's 102,000 seats and 88,000 people there. Like, I've seen LSU for Alabama too, and it's damn good. But I think that it's not like some egregious thing. I adore the environment that my alma mater creates in that stadium in the fall. It's phenomenal when it's phenomenal. But sometimes it's not that great because I don't know that we're that hungry as a fan base. So to continue to trickle down, Ohio State's got number 4. Georgia's got number 5. I have an interesting take on Georgia. I think I've said this a few times. I've been to that stadium for LSU games twice. I went in 2009 in the crazy end where A.J. Green got an excessive celebration, and then Charles Scott got an excessive celebration, and LSU ended up winning a game that was started by Jordan Jefferson and Joe Cox. And I thought, man, this is just not a loud stadium at all. I was down like real low in my student tickets, right by the hedges. I actually had my hand on the hedges at one point. I was real near A.J. Green when he caught that touchdown late in the game. I was like, this place is not that loud. I went back in 2013 for the Murray-Mettenberger shootout. It was real loud that day. I was in the press box for that one. So like that, and I feel like I've had that experience at a lot of different SEC stadiums because I've been to quite a few now. I've been to Florida for Tebow. I've been to Florida for Will Muschamp. I've been to Tennessee for a really good game in 2006 with Jamarcus Russell in overtime. I've been in 2011 when we beat the brakes off of them. I've been to Ole Miss and Mississippi State for good and bad. So I've seen a lot of seen Auburn good and bad, and they actually really filled it up even when they weren't very good. But Georgia was one of those that I feel like I had a really polarizing view. I think now that they've kind of cultivated a machine over there, it's probably better than it was certainly when I went initially. But I don't have any problem with them being up there. They got Penn State at 6, Wisconsin at 7, doing the jump around thing. Oklahoma at 8. I'm curious to go there. I will one day. Florida State at 9 and Florida at 10. That leaves out of the top 10 Oregon, Tennessee, Auburn, Michigan, Texas. Your thoughts on any and all of that, Beck?
I will say that I am a bit surprised that Florida is not inside the top 10.
Yeah.
Being 10, I think, is okay, but I think Florida is usually considered one of the toughest places in the SEC to play. And to me, like you said, I've watched Oklahoma games. They definitely have a great environment, but Florida to me is always one that is a very tough environment. Even when they haven't been good the last few years, it's still always a pretty good environment. So I'm surprised they're not in the top 10. And then I think Clemson gets a lot of shine as well. And I think a lot of Clemson fans will probably be upset they're not in the top 10. But I know their environment. And Tennessee, Tennessee is
just huge.
It's just massive.
It's huge.
It's just so big.
It's a huge erector set. Is what it looks like. It's got it looks like metal going everywhere, but it is a big old ball yard. Florida, I went in 2006 and 2008. They won the national championship both years. Tebow was there both years. I was there for the jump pass, the whole thing. And it was incredible in 2006 and 2008. I went in 10 and 12. 10 was okay. 12 was a ghost town. It was just quiet. The student section had a lot of holes in it. That was Muschamp era. Like they just weren't really feeling it for whatever reason. So that's just one of those that I've kind of seen awesome and I've seen not very good. I would suggest that Florida doesn't quite have the passion that some of these fan bases have. It's more of a sidewalk fan, situation because the state of Florida has so many people there that aren't from the state of Florida that live there. But yeah, you can have an incredible environment there. If I was to take one team outside the top 10 and put them in, and I haven't been to Virginia Tech. I don't know. Cool entrance, I guess, with Enter Sandman. I don't know. But Auburn needs to be in the top 10, and they're at 14. I've seen that place with Cam Newton, and I was there for the controversial no-call early Doucette thing. I was there for both of those, and I was also there when they were atrocious with the end of the Gene Chizik era when they couldn't score a point, and they had Kyle Frazier playing quarterback. No matter what the situation with Auburn, they show up, and it's usually pretty loud. And I think I'm a little biased on the LSU-Auburn game because I feel like it's just such a great uniform game. I always just feel like it's a great environment. But I think Auburn is in the top 10. I would put Auburn in front of Florida for sure. I feel like Auburn belongs in front of Oklahoma, although I've never been there. I'll give Oregon their props. It looks great on TV. I think Florida State's good, but I think it's a little smaller. I don't know. That's one that I may never get to. But Auburn's the one here that I look at and go, that's one that needs to be bumped up a tick. And then one more, Davis Wade at Mississippi State should be ahead of 25. I still think that ringing cowbells is flagrant cheating.
I don't know why Arkansas is 23.
Yeah, I don't have any
think
respect
they
for that
belong,
environment
honestly.
at all.
I would probably take Ole Miss over Arkansas.
I've been into Arkansas Stadium once. Mettenberger in 13. Jarvis Landry, one-handed catch. The caveat I will say about that, because I went to War Memorial a few times, which is just a dump, but I went to that one in 13. I went to Arkansas in 13, and it was freezing cold, and I was covering the game, so the press box was shut. So not a great representation of what that environment can be, but I don't have a lot of respect for Arkansas's home field environment.
It's a beautiful stadium in terms of like where it's at.
Yes.
It's great.
Fayetteville, I love.
Yeah.
And Myers and Hunt will one day go to a series at Baum because I have to see that. And I think the world of Fayetteville, I think nothing of D.W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, like nothing at all. So there's a look at your top 25 in college football. LSU comes in at number 3. Kyle Field, toughest place in America to play, says EA Sports. All right, we'll come back and chat with Sharief Ishaq about the Saints and Pels. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They've got financing available if you're a little concerned about paying for that generator. But get that done. Make that phone call and give yourself the peace of mind to know that when the power goes out, it's just going to come right back on thanks to that Generac home standby generator. Every single generator that they sell you at Boudreaux's Electrical is going to come with a 7 to 10 year warranty depending on which type of generator you choose. Give them a call at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, and get an appointment set up to get that consultation. They'll look at your square footage. They'll look at what you want done should the power go out. Some people want the whole house humming. That's fine. They can make that happen for you. Some people, we don't need to do that. We just need to make sure the air conditioner stays on and make sure the fridge and freezer are running. Hey, if we can get our TVs working too, that'll be great. We just want to run this room, that room. You can do any of that with the folks over at Boudreaux's Electrical, but you got to give them a call and set up that consultation to give yourself a peace of mind of knowing that when that power goes out, storm season right now, you're going to be protected. It's Boudreaux's Electrical at 985-397-1562. Check them out online. Brand new website. It's awesome. BoudreauxElectrical.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. a family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
Sandger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee Drive. We're talking NBA draft with the Bird Rights, Ali Cosell. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate joins us, and Wes Reynolds from VEASAN. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
A lot to talk about with our guy Sharief Ishaq from WDSU down in New Orleans. We'll talk some Saints. We'll talk some Pels as well as the NBA draft cranks up tomorrow in New York. The Atlanta Hawks have the #1 pick. Going to be 58 picks total in the draft. Sharief, how are you?
I'm feeling great today. Thank God. That's all I'm saying. Thank God.
You're on
My
Rocky
guy,
Top?
Tony V. My guy Tony V getting it done.
I always knew you were a Tony V guy. I mean, you gotta respect it. You got Bregman to cuss on air. Tony V dropped an S-bomb on ESPN last night saying he was on the Jumbotron. There's a synergy there.
Yeah, anytime I'm watching or involved with some college baseball, you got some, crazy curse words being dropped. But you know what? As long as it wasn't the other team who won.
It was not the Aggies, and they made me losing their coach. Will that make you chuckle?
That would make me lose situation. I do wonder who's going to get that Texas job because everyone wants to say Jay Johnson's name in this newsroom. I'm like, please stop.
No, that's
he's not going anywhere.
Jim Schlossnagle is going to take that job, I think.
That'd be great. I mean, everyone's like, why would he leave Texas A&M where they're rich in money? And I'm like, so they're not winning. I mean, Texas has got money too.
Well, they got to the College World Series final, but I think it's about I think it's more about the athletic director situation, and I think his path to a national championship. I think he thinks is easier at the University of Texas. So we'll just have to see. It'll play itself out. NBA draft comes up tomorrow. You got some Pels thoughts? Are there trades in the works? Do they need to make a pick that's going to play? Do they not have any room because they're deep? What's the Pels situation entering the draft?
Where do you want to start? You want to start with the draft pick, or you want to start with trade rumors?
Let's start with trade rumors. That sounds more interesting.
Obviously. So, the name that continues to be floated and the guy we keep talking about is Brandon Ingram. Where is he going to end up? How is this going to work out? How do you package a deal? How many teams are involved? But it just seems like, Hunt, that he won't be in the Pelicans uniform when the season tips off next year. I don't know at what point. I don't know if it happens between now and tomorrow's draft or if it happens once the other dominoes fall, once free agency tips off next Saturday the 6th. But it just seems like he will be in another uniform and the Pelicans will be having, new players on their team. Look, if you ask for my opinion and what deal I would like DeJounte Murray, and if you can get a Conwu in some type of deal. I know they're probably not going to give up a Conwu, and maybe he's not the big that you need. So if you get DeJounte Murray and another player like Bogdanovich, and you go out there and try to get Brook Lopez in another trade, in a separate trade, dude, you've set yourself up. You look great. Cavaliers, that would be a good one too. If you get Darius Garland, you're not getting both Garland and Jared Allen. That's just not happening. It would take a little bit more to get both guys, but I would think those are the two teams. I mean, there might be some sleeper teams. Fletcher likes to tweet out his trade machines with the Utah Jazz, and maybe the Utah Jazz are involved with the Pelicans and the Atlanta Hawks, and you get like a bunch of other players involved in picks moving around, and it's just crazy. The NBA trade is much different than the NFL and MLB trade. So I just don't see him in a Pelicans uniform next year.
What do you think the league thinks of Brandon Ingram? Just in a snapshot, that's a broad brush to paint with, but is he a very, very, very valuable commodity, or is he a guy that maybe think that it's not going to reach the potential he was once thought to have?
I think they're like probably on the fringe with him. I think they see a guy who has the potential but has to play. I mean, he gets hurt, and some of his small injuries turn into 20 to 25 games, and they probably want to see if he is, committed and wants to be there and wants to play, wants to be that, guy who could be a perennial all-star year in and year out. That's what they want to see. The potential and talent is there, Hunt. I mean, look at the size. I mean, his wingspan is great. He can shoot. He can penetrate. It just doesn't work with he and Zion anymore. So there's probably a team or two out there that values his talent and they want him on that team. But, David Griffin isn't just going to give him away, by the way. It isn't going to be pennies on the dollar. He wants to make sure he gets, some good return in Brandon Ingram.
All right, what about the draft pick itself?
Okay. I mean, we'll talk about a couple guys. I think the main mock draft, many of the main mock drafts have the Pelicans taking Baylor big man Yves Missi, which would be a solid pick. It might be a little bit of a developmental guy, but he played 1 year at Baylor, near 7 feet tall. I think he had close to 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and shoot like 61% from the field. So not a bad guy. I mean, that might fill your void with Jonas Valanciunas leaving. Developmental guy. Could be like Derek Lively, though. I mean, he's got that athletic, bouncy, big type of guy who could play above the rim. So may not be a bad pick. I know that some people may be against it, and because of Jackson Hayes and what happened with the pass of Jackson Hayes. But I like Yves Missi. I think he'd be a solid little addition at 21. Because when you're picking that high, Hunt, you're just essentially maybe getting a guy who's going to have to spend some time in Birmingham. But still, I like him. I think that's maybe a guy they could probably add. Or even we can go to another guy from Baylor to Baylor Shireman from Creighton. A little bit older, a senior, 22, 23 years old, close to 19 points, 9 rebounds, shot like 45%. So at 6'6", 6'7", you got a guy who can, step outside and pop it for you and even penetrate and get some buckets. So I think he started at South Dakota State and finished the last couple of years at Creighton. So you got a winner there. So it's either, you got a guy who's a senior, has a lot of time on the court, or you get a guy who's a freshman, the big freshman that you probably need more than anything.
How big a week is this for the Pelicans franchise? I mean, this seems transformative, specifically if Ingram moves.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, this is huge for years to come. This next, between now and July 6th or whenever any deal happens, big. I mean, like, the window is going to start shutting here. And I look, your talent is young. Zion's still young. Trey's young. Herb is young. But look, you got to get a move on things. I mean, look, Oklahoma City has passed you up in terms of their rebuild, and it only took them a couple years. And they're championship contenders now, year in and year out. And you've had the head start before them, so they've got to get the ball rolling. Huh? I mean, this is like absolutely desperate times for David Griffin and that front office to get something going, because seats are going to start getting super hot, super hot if they can't get anything done.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Let's talk a little football. Sharief, I've been reading some stories about salary cap situations around the league and contracts, and there's lists, bad contract this, good contract this. And one of the guys I wanted to talk about with you and kind of your sense of his role in the new offense, as well as how much they're paying for him for what he does, and that's Taysom Hill. Do you believe him to be a good investment for New Orleans at this point in his career and that contract with a new offense coming in, or do you think that they're overpaying at a position that they don't necessarily prioritize?
I think he becomes a little bit more valuable now that Juwan Johnson's hurt and you don't know when he's coming back. But I still thought he was valuable at the age of 33 for, was it $10, $11 million? I think that's what he's making this year.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. It really isn't bad considering what they ask him to do. I think that, like, you're going to see Clint Kubiak in this new offense kind of like maybe help him take less hits this year and be a little bit smarter and work smarter and not harder with Taysom Hill. And that's what I like. What I think they're going to think about Kyle Juszczyk. That's what I think you're going to see with Taysom Hill and a little bit of George Kittle. I'm not saying he's going to be like George Kittle, but you got a guy who you can move them all around that offense. And I think in the fullback position, maybe, up back, that tight end. I mean, you can do a lot with Taysom. I mean, he's that versatile. I mean, he's that athletic too. So Yeah, I understand people look at the age and are like, man, he's beat up and hit a lot, dinged a lot, but he goes out in the field and he performs, he puts up numbers. And I if I were Saints fans, I'll be a little excited to see like what he's going to do in Kubiak's offense, which I think will be pretty decent.
You think his biggest contribution to this Kubiak offense is going to be catching the ball?
I think there'll be a little bit of everything to me. Look, line him up at running back a few times during the OTAs and minicamp. So I think you're going to see him tosses, handoffs, whether it be blocking, catching some passes. I think it'd be a little bit less catching maybe to me. I think if anything, I think a lot more dump offs, short, quick passes. Not going to see him running any seam routes or anything. I just think this little quick offense for him is going to be something nice. I think you're going to see a little bit of love. I can't wait to see him in the running back position. That's all I say. If they're going to put him back there during this offseason and then give him some handoffs, and he's got some like steam, he's going to run some people over.
Does that feel like the entirety of the field, or is that more of a red zone short yardage type deal?
I think you're going to see a lot of him, a lot of it throughout the the entire field. I just don't think it's a red. That's the problem. You got to stop. I think that's the problem they had. They try to minimize his use in the red zone. I'm like, why? Use him all over the field. He's the weapon. I mean, he could do it all. So I think maybe Clint's going to unlock that, and you're going to see a lot more of him, sideline to sideline, 100 yards to 100 yards, or 110 to 110, whatever. I think you're going to see a lot of him throughout the entire field.
He was pretty much the only effective running weapon they had and was good in the red zone until he wouldn't give him the ball in the red zone a little bit earlier in the season. So, yeah, hopefully Clint Kubiak puts him to a little bit better use this coming fall. Sharief, we appreciate the time. We'll talk next week about the future of the New Orleans Pelicans.
All right, Hunt. Anytime, man.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans. Our Tuesday shows brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. We'll be out there tonight for sports trivia. Get you some wings, get you some beer, answer some trivia questions, win some gift cards. There's, I think, going to be some punishment levied at Plucker Sports Trivia tonight. I saw one of my Plucker Sports Trivia guests, Chad, was out and about this weekend, and he told me the final score of the baseball game that had not gone final. And once I realized that it had not gone final, I contacted him. He said, "Sorry about that. Might have had one too many whole fashions." I said, "Well, your team's going to be docked a point for every round. So that's a team that wins a lot of rounds, and they're going to be docked a point for every round tonight. You got a chance to win some gift cards because the quote-unquote the back table with Chad and the company, they're in big trouble tonight. So come on out to Sports Trivia tonight, Nicholson location at 8:30. We'll come back and close it out. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. It must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscone. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shay Dixon joins us after a busy recruiting weekend, and we're recapping the College World Series with Ronnie Rance. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Moving right along through a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Been a fun one. Had a lot of things to get into, a lot of great interaction in the Bayou Ford chat, and got a lot to talk about the rest of the week. The NBA draft cranks up tomorrow. Baseball transfer portal not done. Drama in Austin, Texas with our baseball coach not done. So we got lots to get to over the next few days, but let's close this day up. A little bit of take it or leave it, Beck.
All right, first one here. The Stanley Cup is the best trophy in sports. It was given to the Florida Panthers last night, by the way. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's a cool trophy. It's huge, and I don't know if I could personally pick it up.
It's very large.
Very large, but those hockey players are very large. I think the NHL playoffs are very cool. I didn't watch very much of them. I did after the College World Series ended last night. Flipped over and watched the third period of a one-score game, one-goal game, if you will, and saw that Florida won it. Skating the cup was cool, and I thought it was very cool that one of the Florida Panthers guys took the Stanley Cup into the ocean today. He literally ran through the beach into the ocean. Those guys have a lot of fun with it, and it's a gorgeous trophy. It's huge. I think it is the best trophy in sports. As much respect as you give the Super Bowl trophy, the Commissioner's Trophy in baseball.
Claret jug?
The Claret jug is very nice, but I think the Stanley Cup is a little more impressive in stature. So I'll go with it. I think it's cool.
I have to agree with you there. Next one here. Blue Jays first baseman Vlad Guerrero Jr. said a couple years ago he'd never sign with the Yankees, quote, not even dead. Then yesterday he said, sometimes one says things. It is not that I'm trying to take back what I said about the Yankees, but this is a business. Guerrero Jr. to the Yankees. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. It's possible. Did you see the home run he hit last night?
Yes.
It was 500 and something feet. I mean, He hit it over the monster, over everything in Boston. Yeah, you say you're not going to sign with the Yankees, not even dead, and then if they turn around and offer you $400 million, you might think twice about that, because $400 million is a pretty good thing to get. He's a good player. That's not a great thing to say. I always wondered, because I was never obviously in a situation where a pro team was going to draft me, but if you grow up a fan of one team and then the rival drafts you, it's And I always wondered about that in coaching too. I know how much some players love their alma mater, and then they have to go coach somewhere that they hated it once upon a time. Like, that's a tough deal. Like, it's hard for me to envision Hester coaching at Florida.
Yeah.
But, like, Corey Raymond went over there and coached at Florida. Like, there you go. It's just a weird deal. It's also interesting to me that Pat Dye went to Georgia and is the most famous Auburn coach, and Vince Dooley went to Auburn and he's the most famous Georgia coach. It's like, it's an interesting deal. And those guys completely gave away their alma mater and were like all in on the school that paid him a lot of money, which I guess makes a lot of sense, but
makes sense.
It's just weird for me to think about. It's weird for me to think about Ole Miss paying me $1.8 million a year and me like becoming Mike Bianco. Like, he played at LSU, now he's been Ole Miss forever. It's just a weird dynamic. Vlad Jr. not necessarily that. It's not apples to apples there, but it's like, I guess he hates the Yankees, but hey, if they say here's $385 million, you think twice about it. All right. That's it for Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up today talking about the College World Series final. My thoughts on Jim Schlossnagle to Texas, plus the press conference last night that I thought was very, very interesting. That was at 1:15. Glenn West talking Tigers at 1:30. You can find that at YouTube at Hunt on LSU. Talked about a youth movement with the New Orleans Saints and kind of what the young players on that roster need to become. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. EA Sports says Tiger Stadium's the third best environment in college football. Check out that segment to hear what the rest of them are. That's it for us. You can catch our stuff on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, and of course on YouTube. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. We're back tomorrow. Hope to see you at Pluckers. If not, same time, same place on the Hunt Palmer Show.